Texas is vast, with sprawling cities, forests, and open landscapes. Its parks are places for laughter, picnics, and family outings. But beneath the playgrounds and trails lie shadows that move when no one watches. Whispers echo between the trees, and figures that vanish into thin air. Visitors have reported ghostly children swinging on empty swings. And unexplained footsteps on quiet trails. And glowing eyes peering from dark corners. Some hear faint music drifting through the night, while no one is there to play it. The parks of Texas are more. Some hold the memories of lives long gone, refusing to rest. Tonight, we will step into the 20 most haunted park areas in Texas, where the laughter of the living is drowned by whispers from the past, and the dead may be watching you from the shadows. Hello, dear listener. Welcome to another night of suspense, mystery, and the unseen. I hope you are somewhere safe, maybe alone with your headphones, because tonight we explore the haunted parks of Texas, where trails, playgrounds, and pavilions hold more than naturia, they hold the lingering spirits of the past. Some parks are quiet by day, but echo with voices at night. Some trails are haunted by figures in the distance. And others whisper your name softly when you walk alone. And some visitors swear they have felt cold hands on their shoulders. Or glimpsed pale figures disappearing behind trees. Before we step into these haunted parks, tell me in the comments. If you had to spend one night alone in a haunted park, would you sit on a deserted bench in the moonlight? Or walk down the dark trails hoping nothing notices you? Take a deep breath. The parks are waiting. Hemisfair Park in San Antonio is a place of laughter and light by day, filled with the sounds of children playing, families walking, and music drifting from nearby fountains. By night, the atmosphere transforms, leaving the park silent yet alive in an entirely different way. Visitors who venture close after hours often describe an uncanny sensation, a feeling that the space is inhabited by more than just memories. Some report hearing the soft sound of children laughing, high-pitched and full of joy, echoing across the empty paths and playgrounds. The laughter seems to come from nowhere and everywhere at once, drifting over the swings, slides, and open fields. It is cheerful yet strangely distant, a sound that cannot be traced to a single source. Those who hear it often pause, listening closely, only to find the park entirely empty and still. The playgrounds themselves are the focal points of many encounters. Swings begin to move gently, swaying back and forth as if pushed by unseen hands. Visitors have described slides with no one on them reflecting the glow of the park lights as though recently used. Shadows flicker across the concrete and grass, darting between trees or lingering near the benches. The movements are subtle, often perceived peripherally, but unmistakably present. People walking the paths after dark frequently report the sensation of being followed. Cold breezes drift across their necks, brushing the skin without any wind in the air. Steps echo behind them, soft at first, then louder, though no one can be seen. In some areas, the pavement seems to hum with energy, a quiet vibration that heightens the sense of presence. The effect is both mesmerizing and unnerving, leaving visitors aware that the park is not as empty as it appears. The architecture of Hemisfair Park contributes to the uncanny atmosphere. Open plazas, archways, and shaded alcoves create spaces where sound and shadow play tricks on the mind. The echo of laughter can ricochet between walls and pathways, growing and fading as though following a pattern. Some visitors describe hearing voices calling their names, faintly and indistinct, mingling with the laughter in a way that feels intentional, as if the unseen children are aware of those who intrude upon their night. Those who have spent time observing report that the apparitions are rarely malevolent. The children's laughter and the subtle movements of swings or shadows feel playful rather than threatening. Yet there is a persistent sense of history and memory embedded in the space. Visitors often describe a strange mix of nostalgia and unease, sensing a presence that is both familiar and entirely separate from the modern park. Some witnesses recount seeing fleeting figures near benches or fountains. They appear as silhouettes, small and moving quickly, darting between trees or across paths. They disappear when approached, leaving behind only the faint impression of movement. Occasionally, the sound of footsteps accompanies them. The sound of footsteps vanishes when the observer turns to look. The combination of sight, sound, and sensation leaves a lasting impression that the park is alive in a way beyond the physical. Fountains and water features, usually a source of calm, sometimes play a role in these encounters. Water ripples despite the absence of wind or disturbance, as if something invisible has passed through. The splashes are never large or violent, but noticeable enough to suggest unseen activity. Some visitors have reported the reflection of shapes in the water, moving just at the edge of perception, vanishing when attention is focused directly on them. The park at night seems to be a threshold between worlds. Daylight reveals playgrounds, paths, and fountains bustling with life, while darkness brings a layer of memory and presence that cannot be ignored. Those who experience these events often leave with a heightened awareness of the space and its history. A sense that the park holds more than meets the eye. The laughter, shadows, and gentle movements serve as reminders of the lives and joy that have passed through this place. Lingering as whispers in the night. For some, the phenomena are subtle, barely noticeable, a faint chill or soft giggle carried on the air. For others, the experiences are vivid and undeniable, with multiple senses engaged simultaneously. The sound of laughter, the movement of swings, shadows crossing empty paths, and cold breezes combine to create an immersive experience that is both mysterious and compelling. It is an encounter with the unseen, a dialogue between the living and the echoes of those who came before. As the night deepens, the activity seems to fade. Laughter softens. Shadows retreat. And the park returns to stillness. Yet the memory lingers in the minds of those who have witnessed it. The echoes of play, joy, and presence remain imprinted on the paths, swings, and plazas. Hemisfair Park at night is a place where the past and present coexist. A space where unseen children continue their games. And where visitors may glimpse the enduring spirit of the park. Hemisfair Park reminds us that places hold memory, and that echoes of the past can linger long after the physical presence has faded. The soft giggles, fleeting shadows, and gentle movements are a testament to the energy of human activity, preserved in the quiet corners of the park. For those who walk its paths at night, the experience is a delicate balance of wonder and unease. A hauntingly beautiful encounter with the lingering spirits of joy and play that continue to inhabit Hemisfair Park. Zilker Park in Austin stretches across acres of open fields, trails, and wooded areas, a place where the hum of city life fades into the rustle of leaves and the quiet rhythm of nature. By day, the park is alive with families, joggers, and picnickers. But as evening falls, the energy shifts. Shadows lengthen and the park transforms into a different realm, where stories of the unexplained have persisted for decades. Among these tales, one of the most enduring is that of the wandering figure, a presence seen and felt by those who walk the park after dark. Witnesses describe a solitary figure appearing along the trails, moving silently yet purposefully, disappearing into the trees when approached. The figure is often described as faint and indistinct, a shadow that seems almost part of the night itself. Its presence is subtle but undeniable. Observers often feel a sudden drop in temperature, a chill that settles across their shoulders, even when the park appears empty. The phenomenon is not limited to a single path. Reports come from multiple areas of the park, from the trails that wind through thick groves of trees, Hikers and night walkers have felt the sensation of being watched. Heard footsteps echoing where no one is present. And caught fleeting glimpses of movement from the corner of their eyes. The figure always remains just out of clear view, disappearing the moment someone tries to focus on it directly. Along with the figure, witnesses have reported faint, ethereal music drifting through the air. Notes of piano or strings, soft and distant, sometimes play from nowhere, lingering briefly before fading into silence. Those who hear it describe a sense of nostalgia or longing, a melancholic beauty that is both captivating and unsettling. The music seems to follow no pattern, appearing near empty benches, along walking paths, or across the open lawns. It is as if the park itself has stored fragments of memory, released only to those who walk its grounds after dark. Some visitors have experienced the figure more directly. They hear footsteps behind them, match the pace of their own steps, only to find nothing when they turn. Occasionally, the presence seems to mirror their movement, appearing for a brief moment in the shadows and then vanishing as if it were never there. The effect is disorienting and leaves a lingering impression of somnia or something keeping watch. The origins of the figure remain unknown. Some speculate it is the spirit of a former park caretaker, or a lone walker who died long ago. Others believe it is a residual energy, a lingering echo of past events captured by the park itself. Regardless of its origin, the figure has become a fixture in local lore. A reminder that Zilker Park holds more than meets the eye. Even in a city known for music, festivals, and modern life. Encounters are often accompanied by a deep sense of awareness. Witnesses report feeling observed, a subtle but persistent presence that makes the hair on their arms stand on end. The air seems heavier, charged with an unseen energy. Shadows deepen unnaturally, and even familiar landmarks can appear unfamiliar in the dim light. Some visitors have said that the park seems alive in these moments, each tree, path, and bench quietly participating in the experience. The figure does not threaten, nor does it act aggressively. Its presence is more of an enigma than a danger. Those who have encountered it describe a mix of curiosity, awe, and trepidation. The figure moves with intent, appearing briefly and then retreating into the darkness. The music that sometimes accompanies it seems to respond to its movement, rising and falling as if marking its passage across the park. Zilker Park is a place of dualities. By day, it is vibrant, full of life, laughter, and activity. By night, it transforms into a place where the ordinary gives way to the mysterious. Trails wind through darkness. And open fields stretch endlessly beneath the moonlight. It is here, in this quiet, liminal space, that the wandering figure and its accompanying music reveal themselves to those attentive enough to notice. Some who walk the park at night leave with lingering sensations. They describe a warmth or coldness that shifts unexpectedly. The impression of footsteps following them. And the memory of music echoing long after the park has been left behind. The experience often prompts reflection. A sense that the boundaries between past and present, between the living and the unseen, are thinner than they appear. Despite the passage of time, the sightings continue. Reports are consistent, with witnesses across decades describing similar experiences. A figure moving silently along trails, vanishing into the trees. Footsteps echoing in empty fields. Faint music with no source. Zilker Park has, in this way, preserved an element of mystery, an intangible presence that reminds all who enter that some aspects of the world remain beyond explanation. The wandering figure of Zilker Park is not malevolent, yet it is profoundly unforgettable. It is a shadow that emerges from the familiar and returns to the darkness. A subtle guide, a witness to those who traverse the park after hours. For those who have experienced it, the encounter becomes a story, a memory. A question left unanswered. In the quiet hours, when city sounds fade and only the wind stirs the leaves. The trails, the trees, and the open fields become a stage for something beyond the ordinary. The figure moves silently, the music drifts unseen. And the night stretches on. Those who witness it understand that Zilker Park is alive not only with nature, but with the presence of the past, the unseen, and the mysterious. Whether you walk the park at dusk or under the cloak of night, the possibility remains that the wandering figure may appear. A fleeting shadow along the trails. A note of music without a source. The echo of footsteps in empty fields. These experiences remind visitors that Zilker Park is more than a park. It is a place where the ordinary and the extraordinary coexist. And where the unseen continues to walk among the living. Buffalo Bayou Park in Houston stretches along the slow, winding waterway, lined with towering trees and the remains of old industrial structures. By day, joggers and families stroll along its paths, the sounds of laughter and conversation mixing with the gentle flow of the bayou. But as night falls, the atmosphere shifts. Shadows deepen, the wind carries unfamiliar sounds, and some visitors speak of a presence that is felt rather than seen. Along the quiet banks, hikers and evening walkers have reported glimpses of figures that seem out of place. Shadows stretch long under the dim glow of distant streetlights, forming shapes that resemble human silhouettes. They appear motionless at first, then move slowly, vanishing when approached. There is no sound accompanying these movements, yet the impression is unmistakable as someone or something is there. Some visitors feel cold hands brushing against their arms as they walk. It is never a firm grip, never an aggressive touch, but the sensation is chilling, fleeting, and undeniably present. Yet the effect is haunting. It is as if the bayou itself is trying to communicate with those who venture too close after dark. The park has a long history. Once a hub for shipping and industry, its banks have seen countless travelers, workers, and residents. Some believe that these echoes of the past linger, a residual imprint of lives once lived along the water. The shadows, the touches, and the whispers may be the lingering presence of those who walked these paths before, observing the modern visitors from beyond. In certain spots, the phenomena are stronger. Along old footpaths and near the remnants of piers, shadows are more defined. And the feeling of being watched grows more intense. Visitors have reported the sensation of eyes on the back of their necks. The unmistakable impression of being observed even when no figure is visible. The wind seems to respond. Carrying the whispers more clearly in these areas, curling around trees and bouncing off the water in patterns that feel deliberate. Those who spend time near the bayou at night often notice subtle movements that cannot be explained. Leaves rustle though no breeze is present. Small ripples form on the water as if disturbed by something unseen. And occasionally, the reflections of figures appear in the dark surface, vanishing when directly observed. The park transforms from a familiar urban landscape into a place where the ordinary and the uncanny blend. And the boundary between the living and the spectral feels thin. Some accounts describe fleeting images of people dressed in old-fashioned clothing, their outlines shimmering in the dim light along the paths. They move slowly, sometimes lingering near the water's edge before dissolving into darkness. Others report hearing footsteps following them, even when no one is behind. These sounds echo against the trees and the water, creating an eerie rhythm that seems to mirror the beating of a heart, slow and steady, yet out of place in the stillness of night. The bayou itself seems to hold memory. Its waters, once vital to commerce and transport, now carry more than just the current, they hold stories. Every ripple, every shadow along the banks, appears to speak of lives intertwined with the river. The whispers that drift on the wind feel like fragments of conversations, laughter, and sorrow, preserved in the space between the trees and the water. Many who encounter these phenomena describe a mixture of fear and fascination. The sensations are never overtly threatening, yet they command attention. Cold hands brushing against the skin, shadows moving just beyond the line of sight, whispers that seem to follow with every steepa. These experiences create an atmosphere thick with mystery. Visitors often find themselves pausing, listening intently, and trying to discern the unseen from the imagination. Visitors often find themselves pausing, listening intently, and trying to discern the unseen from the imagination. These experiences create an atmosphere thick with mystery. Cold hands brushing against the skin, shadows moving just beyond the line of sight, whispers that seem to follow with every steepa. Visitors often find themselves pausing, listening intently, and trying to discern the unseen from the imagination. Some believe that the spirits of the bayou are drawn to the edges of the park, where the old industrial structures meet the natural landscape. Rusted piers and decaying foundations seem to act as anchors, points where the past clings most tightly. Shadows linger there longer, whispers carry farther, and the feeling of being followed is more pronounced. Even those familiar with the park during daylight hours report a profound sense of difference when walking the same paths after sunset. The encounters are subtle yet persistent. Hikers have described the sensation of someone walking just behind them, only to turn and find empty paths. Others speak of seeing brief flashes of light reflecting off water or metal, flickering like lanterns, though no source is present. The combination of movement, sound, and sensation is enough to make the familiar environment feel otherworldly, a liminal space between past and present. Despite the unsettling experiences, many visitors feel a deep connection to the bayou at night. The presence is not malicious but contemplative, a reminder of the layers of history that exist beneath the surface of modern life. The whispers, shadows, and fleeting touches are echoes of lives once lived, lingering just long enough to be noticed by those willing to walk the paths after dark. Buffalo Bayou Park becomes more than a park at night, it becomes a living narrative, a place where the line between the physical and the spectral is fragile. The river, the trees, and the old structures hold stories, memories, and presences that manifest in subtle, haunting ways. Each visitor adds to the story, their footsteps merging with echoes of the past. The park teaches a kind of respect, a need to move carefully and observe. Every shadow may hide a memory, every whisper may carry a fragment of history. And every cold touch serves as a reminder that we are not alone. Buffalo Bayou is both beautiful and unsettling. A place where the ordinary world meets the extraordinary. And where the past lingers just beyond the edges of perception. In the end, the experience of the bayou at night leaves a lasting impression. Hikers, joggers, and walkers find themselves looking more closely at the water. Listening more intently to the wind. And moving with a heightened awareness of the unseen. The shadows and whispers of Buffalo Bayou Park are a subtle, constant presence. A reminder that even in the heart of a city, the past never truly fades. Discovery Green in Houston is a bustling urban park by day, alive with the sounds of families, joggers, and street performers. Its open lawns, fountains, and playgrounds offer spaces for play, relaxation, and community gatherings. Visitors admire the vibrant colors of public art installations, the glimmer of water in fountains, and the careful landscaping that provides pockets of shade and quiet. Yet when the city grows quieter at night and streetlights cast long shadows across the park, Discovery Green takes on a different character, a subtle presence that many find both unsettling and intriguing. Those who visit the park after dark often report unusual phenomena. Playground equipment moves without explanation, swings swaying gently as if pushed by invisible hands. Swings swaying gently as if pushed by invisible hands, and slides seeming to shift slightly, reflecting the soft glow of the streetlights. Slides seeming to shift slightly, reflecting the soft glow of the streetlights. Benches and trash receptacles occasionally appear to have been moved from their usual positions, yet no one is nearby. Observers describe a sense of awareness, a feeling that the park is alive with movement and energy, even in the absence of people. Those who visit the park after dark often report unusual phenomena. Alongside these physical disturbances, visitors have described flickering lights throughout the park. Streetlights and decorative lamps dim and flare unpredictably, creating shifting pools of light and shadow. These changes often occur in patterns that seem almost deliberate, drawing attention to particular areas of the park. Witnesses report heightened awareness during these moments, noticing the sound of leaves rustling in the gentle breeze, the distant hum of the city, and the subtle echo of movement that seems to originate from no visible source. Figures have been seen standing silently at the edges of the park, often partially obscured by trees or shadows. Observers describe them as human in shape, motionless, watching without approaching. They appear for a few moments before disappearing into the darkness, leaving behind a sense of unease and curiosity. Visitors often feel as though the park is observing them in return, a space where the past and present intersect, and where unseen presences maintain a quiet vigil over its grounds. One visitor recounted walking along a path near the fountains after dusk. The water reflected the glow of overhead lamps, and the air was filled with the distant sounds of the city. As they passed the playground, the swings began to sway gently, though no one was nearby. A figure appeared along the tree line, standing motionless and watching. And the lights above flickered in an almost rhythmic pattern. When the observer turned to look directly, the figure vanished, leaving only the swaying equipment and the soft echo of footsteps that seemed to fade into the night. The architecture and layout of Discovery Green contribute to these experiences. Open spaces, clusters of trees, water features, and art installations create an environment where shadows can stretch and shift unexpectedly. The reflective surfaces of fountains and glass structures amplify light and movement, creating illusions that appear lifelike. Even the gentle sway of branches in the wind or the soft ripple of water can combine with perception to produce phenomena that feel interactive and intentional, heightening the sense that the park is alive with unseen activity. Local lore suggests that the park may host lingering presences, remnants of past visitors or residents who continue to inhabit the space in subtle ways. Some believe these figures are guardians or watchers, maintaining a quiet presence over the grounds. Others suggest the phenomena are residual energy, echoes of activity and life imprinted into the park itself. Witnesses consistently report similar experiences: flickering lights, moving playground equipment, and shadowy figures, indicating a continuity of observation that spans different visitors and moments in time. Experiencing Discovery Green at night is both unsettling and compelling. The movements, lights, and figures engage the senses fully, heightening awareness of surroundings and drawing attention to subtle details. Observers often notice the texture of pathways, the interplay of shadow and reflection, and the distant hum of the city, all of which combine to create an immersive experience. Each swing that moves, each flicker of light, and each moment of silent observation contributes to the impression that the park holds life beyond the ordinary. A quiet, watchful presence that is felt more than seen, even in the absence of visible phenomena. Discovery Green retains a charged atmosphere. Visitors often report a lingering sense of observation, a quiet awareness of presence that persists long after leaving the park. The space becomes more than an urban park, it becomes a repository of memory, energy and subtle life that continues to move and interact with those who enter its boundaries. The park demonstrates that history, activity, and energy can exist in ways that transcend ordinary perception. As night deepens over Houston, Discovery Green stands illuminated yet shadowed, alive with unseen presence. Playground equipment may sway gently, lights may flicker, and figures may watch silently from the edges of the park. The space endures as a place where the living encounter echoes of unseen presences, where past and present converge in subtle yet undeniable ways, and where visitors are reminded that even in the heart of a city, the ordinary can become extraordinary, quiet yet alive, and always watching. Memorial Park in Houston is a place of green expanse and winding trails, a sanctuary for those seeking quiet walks or evening jogs. During the day, the park is filled with the sounds of liffia birds singing, runners passing, and the hum of distant traffic. But as night falls, the atmosphere shifts, leaving the park quiet, almost suspended in time. Visitors who venture out after dark often feel the presence of something unseen, as if the park carries echoes of its past alongside the present. One of the most frequently reported phenomena is the sound of footsteps. Walkers along the dimly lit trails have described hearing soft steps behind them, keeping pace with their own. At first, it may be subtle, almost mistaken for another visitor, but as the sound persists, an unsettling awareness grows. Turning to look reveals no thing and no person, no animala, just the darkness of the trail and the surrounding trees. The footsteps continue, fading when the walker stops, then resuming when movement begins again. Ghostly joggers are another common sight. Witnesses describe figures running past, dressed in clothing styles from decades ago. Some appear in vintage athletic wear, others in simple jogging attire that seems distinctly out of place. These figures move with a fluidity and purpose that feels real. Yet they vanish in an instant when approached. Trails that moments before were empty are suddenly filled with fleeting motion. Only to be empty again as if the joggers were never there. The experience leaves a lingering sense of being watched, accompanied by the soft echo of their steps fading into the distance. The park's design contributes to the mysterious atmosphere. Narrow paths wind through groves of trees, their branches forming shadows that shift with the moonlight. Open fields offer little cover, yet shadows seem to gather along the edges. Fleeting and indistinct. Visitors often report a sense of being guided along certain trails, feeling drawn toward areas that seem slightly off the usual path. The combination of sound, movement, and shadow creates a layered sensory experience that feels both real and intangible. Some encounters involve more than just sight and sound. The air grows heavier along certain stretches of trail, carrying the faint scent of grass and earth, familiar yet somehow altered. These subtle environmental changes enhance the sense of presence, making it clear that Memorial Park is a space where the living and unseen coexist. Observers have noted that the activity seems concentrated along older portions of the park. Trails that have existed for decades, where generations of runners and walkers have passed, hold the most reports of footsteps and apparitions. It is as if the park retains memory, echoing the lives and movements of those who once frequented it. The ghostly joggers may be remnants of these earlier visitors, their presence a bridge between the past and the present. The encounters are rarely threatening, but they are undeniably eerie. The footsteps, shadows, and fleeting figures evoke curiosity and tension simultaneously. Visitors often describe a heightened sense of awareness, feeling attuned to every sound and movement. A rustle in the trees, a sudden breeze, or the reflection of moonlight on a path can trigger the perception of presence, even when nothing materializes. It is an experience that blends fear, fascination, and a deep appreciation for the unseen layers of the park. Memorial Park also holds stories of indirect interaction. Some visitors have reported objects appearing slightly out of place, like a fallen branch moved across a trail, or a misplaced water bottle. The changes are subtle, never overtly alarming, but they contribute to the overall impression that the park is alive with the echoes of those who have walked its trails before. The interplay of movement, sound, and environmental cues creates a vivid sense of connection with the unseen world. At times, multiple phenomena occur simultaneously. A jogger may see a figure running in the opposite direction, while hearing footsteps following behind. And cold drafts brush past, making the trail feel alive in a way that is both captivating and unnerving. Those who witness it often feel a sense of privilege, glimpsing a hidden layer of reality. that exists alongside the familiar park paths. Despite the ghostly activity, Memorial Park remains a place of calm and reflection. The spirits, if they can be called that, seem tied to the park's energy rather than to any malevolent intent. Their presence is more reminiscent of memory than threat, a lingering imprint of the countless individuals who have moved through this space over the years. The echoes of footsteps and the occasional glimpse of a jogger in outdated clothing serve as reminders of the continuity of human experience and the park's enduring presence in the community. By the time the moon dips low and the night deepens, the trails grow quiet once more. The footsteps fade, the figures vanish, and the air settles into stillness. Yet the memory remains in the minds of those who experienced it. A mixture of wonder and unease. Visitors leave with an awareness that the park holds layers of unseen life. A delicate balance of the living present and the enduring presence of those who came before. Memorial Park, Houston, is more than a space for exercise or relaxation. The trails, shadows, and ghostly joggers offer a unique connection to the past, an invitation to consider the lives that have intersected with this space over time. For those who venture after dark, the park reveals itself in a way few experience, a place where echoes of movement, sound, and life linger long after the footsteps have passed. Fair Park in Dallas is a sprawling complex of fairgrounds, exhibition halls, and amusement rides, a place where laughter and music once filled the air. By day, it bustles with visitors exploring events, walking the open spaces, and taking in the history that spans nearly a century. But as night falls, the energy shifts. The lights dim, the gates close, and the echoes of the past begin to surface. Those who have ventured into Fair Park after hours describe a very different experience. Shadows seem to move along the old fairgrounds, slipping across empty pathways and abandoned rides. The Ferris wheel, silent and still, becomes a stage for spectral figures, as if the park itself is replaying memories of another time. Some visitors hear the faint squeak of its gears, the soft creak of seats swinging, though no one is there to operate it. Spectral laughter often echoes through the grounds. It rises and falls, seeming to come from the old carousel, the funhouses, and the empty game stalls. The laughter is light and playful, yet tinged with an eerie undertone. Those who hear it describe a feeling of being watched. The sense that unseen eyes follow every movement across the fairgrounds. The park's buildings hold their own mysteries. Exhibitions halls that are silent by night sometimes echo with whispers. Soft conversations from voices that do not belong to any present visitor. Doors open slowly as if someone unseen has brushed past. And chairs occasionally shift or rock gently on their own. The sounds are subtle but distinct, leaving an impression of presence where there should be none. Visitors walking the pathways report fleeting glimpses of figures, shadows that vanish when looked at directly. They are described as human in shape, yet insubstantial, fading into the darkness before they can be fully seen. Some appear near the old concession stands or along the edges of the parking lots, as if reliving scenes from long-past fairs. The movement is purposeful, deliberate, and yet intangible, leaving observers with an uneasy awareness that the park is not empty after all. Those who encounter these phenomena often feel a change in the air. Lights flicker briefly in the distance, and the faint scent of popcorn or cotton candy seems to drift from nowhere. These sensory impressions are accompanied by a heightened awareness. A sense that the boundaries between past and present, between the living and the unseen, are thinner here than in other places. The Ferris wheel remains a focal point for most reports. Some witnesses describe seeing shadowy figures seated in the carriages, their forms indistinct in the dark. The ride moves imperceptibly, almost alive, carrying no living passengers. Laughter rises from its height, carried down across the park, then fades abruptly. Visitors who try to approach See nothing. As if nothing had occurred. The carousel holds similar tales. Music may be heard, faintly chiming from an invisible source, though the organ is silent. The repetition gives the impression of a memory replaying itself, moments frozen yet never fully gone. A permanent echo of joy intertwined with melancholy. Some witnesses describe being followed by shadows along the fairgrounds. The shapes move at the edge of perception, appearing in the corners of the eye, then vanishing when looked at directly, and the faint creak of wooden structures can be heard without anyone touching them. Observers often experience a mixture of fascination and unease, drawn in by the activity yet conscious of the unnatural presence surrounding them. Fair Park at night transforms from a place of celebration into a landscape of memory and mystery. The rides, the halls, and the open spaces become vessels for the past. The energy of decades of visitors, laughter, and movement seems to linger, manifesting as shadows, whispers, and unexplainable sounds. The park does not threaten, but it captivates, inviting those who enter to witness fragments of time replaying itself. Many who walk the grounds alone after dark describe the experience as hauntingly beautiful. The interplay of light and shadow, the faint echoes of music and laughter, and the movement of figures just beyond perception combine to create a scene both unsettling and compelling. The presence of the unseen is constant, subtle yet insistent, reminding visitors that history in this place is alive in ways not immediately visible. Encounters vary. Some simply feel a presence nearby, a chill or a gentle brush of air. Others are more direct, hearing distinct footsteps, laughter, or whispers. Few report seeing full forms, but the impression of movement is unmistakable. These experiences leave a lasting memory, a story that visitors carry away, knowing that the fairgrounds of Dallas hold secrets beyond the ordinary. Fair Park's haunted reputation endures because of these persistent experiences. It is not merely an abandoned park at night, but a space where past and present intersect, where echoes of former visitors and events continue to manifest. The shadows along the rides, the laughter in empty halls, and the subtle movement in corners of the eye remind all who enter that this place has a life of its own, one shaped by memory, energy, and the mysteries of the night. The park at night remains open to imagination. Whether walking along the pathways, near the Ferris wheel, or past silent exhibition halls, there is always the possibility of encountering a presence. A fleeting shadow, a whisper carried on the wind, or the soft echo of laughter. All serve as reminders that Fair Park is more than a location. It is a living memory, a space where the past continues to move, speak, and watch. For those who explore Fair Park after dark, the experience is unforgettable. It is a place where the unseen inhabits the familiar, where the energy of decades past plays alongside the present. Shadows move along trails, laughter drifts through empty spaces, and the rides come alive in ways both subtle and undeniable. In the quiet of the night, Fair Park stands as a testament to the presence of the past, the unseen, and the extraordinary. Clyde Warren Park stretches across downtown Dallas, a green oasis suspended above the bustling streets below. By day, families gather for picnics, office workers stroll along the pathways, and the hum of the city blends with the laughter of children and the rustle of leaves. Office workers stroll along the pathways. But as dusk falls and the park empties, a different atmosphere emerges. Shadows lengthen, the air feels cooler, and some visitors report experiences that cannot be explained by ordinary perception. Along the winding paths and beneath the tall trees, figures have been seen standing motionless. They appear human at first glance, yet when approached, They vanish, leaving behind only the faintest ripple in the air. As if reality itself had folded around them. These figures are never threatening, but their presence evokes a profound awareness that the park is not entirely empty. Benches and seating areas sometimes move slightly, shifting as if brushed by unseen hands. The movements are subtly just enough to make a visitor pause and glance around. Some witnesses describe a feeling of being observed, a quiet tension in the air that is palpable even when no one else is around. Along the quiet paths, faint whispers can be heard, carried on the evening wind. They are soft and fleeting, indistinct yet persistent, as if the park itself is speaking in fragments of memory. The words are never clear, never coherent, but the cadence suggests stories left unfinished, moments from the past brushing against the present. Those who hear these whispers often report a sense of unease, a shiver along the spine, as though the echoes of earlier visitors linger just beyond perception. The park has a history layered beneath its modern design. It was built over streets and railways, connecting the past to the present in ways both visible and hidden. Some believe that these invisible figures are the remnants of those who once walked the streets below, echoes of the people and lives that shaped the area long before the park existed. The whispers, the fleeting figures, and the subtle movements of benches may be the traces of history manifesting in the present. In certain areas of the park, the experiences are more intense. Beneath the shade of dense trees or near fountains, shadows linger longer, and whispers seem closer, almost intelligible. Visitors have reported glimpsing figures standing near the edges of lawns, only to see them dissolve when approached. Others have felt the air shift as if someone walked beside them, their presence sensed rather than seen. These occurrences are never overtly threatening, but they are undeniably real to those who experience them. The sensations provoke a heightened awareness of the surroundings, a careful observation of every movement and sound. Leaves rustle though no breeze passes, lights flicker in subtle patterns, and the combination of movement, whispers, and shadow creates an atmosphere thick with the sense of another presence. Some witnesses describe faint outlines of people dressed in older attire, their forms shimmering just beyond the edge of vision. They do not interact directly, yet their placement along the paths and near benches suggests intention. Observers often pause, sensing the weight of unseen attention, a quiet presence that respects boundaries while remaining present. The park transforms at night into a space where time feels more fluid. Past and present seem to coexist, and the ordinary becomes tinged with the extraordinary. The whispers, the shifting benches, and the fleeting figures suggest that Clyde Warren Park is more than a recreational spacia, it is a living archive. Where memories, experiences, and perhaps spirits of the past remain subtly imprinted on the environment. Visitors report that these experiences leave a lasting impression. Even those unfamiliar with the park's history feel a sense of reverence and caution. Moving slowly along paths. Listening intently to the faintest sounds. And observing the shadows with care. Each step along the park's walkways becomes a mindful journey. A careful negotiation between the seen and unseen. The presence within Clyde Warren Park is subtle yet persistent. Manifests in whispers along empty pathways, the gentle shifting of benches. And the fleeting appearance of figures who vanish when approached. These phenomena are never aggressive, yet they command attention, creating an atmosphere that is equal parts mystery and reflection. In the stillness of night, the park's energy feels tangible. The wind carries fragments of voices. Leaves stir as if touched by invisible hands. And the space between the trees and paths seems alive with history. Visitors often pause, sensing the weight of what has been left behind. The echo of human presence that continues to linger in the park's quiet corners. Clyde Warren Park demonstrates the delicate balance between history and the present. Between ordinary spaces and extraordinary experiences. Reminds visitors that beneath the surface of a city and its modern parks, traces of the past persist, whispering through the trees, moving along benches, and manifesting in shadows that cannot be captured. Walking the park at night is a journey into an unseen dimension. A space where the ordinary becomes tinged with the extraordinary. Figures appear and vanish, whispers drift on the wind. Subtle movements hint at unseen observers. The experience leaves a lasting impression. A heightened awareness of the unseen stories woven into the fabric of the park. Ultimately, Clyde Warren Park at night is a place where the familiar transforms into the mysterious. Shadows, whispers, and fleeting figures serve as reminders that the past lingers, subtly intertwined with the present. Visitors leave with an acute sense of observation, a deepened respect for the unseen, and an awareness that the park is a space where history and the extraordinary continue to coexist. White Rock Lake Park in Dallas stretches across a vast expanse of water, wooded trails, and open fields. By day, the park is a haven for joggers, cyclists, and families enjoying picnics along the shoreline. Boats glide across the calm waters, and the sunlight reflects off the lake in sparkling patterns. The rustle of leaves, the calls of birds, and the occasional splash of a paddle create a tranquil, vibrant environment. Yet as evening descends and the city lights dim, the park transforms, revealing a presence that is both ethereal and enigmatic. Visitors who explore the park after dark often report seeing figures in pale clothing along the water's edge. These shapes appear human, yet their forms are faint, almost translucent, blending seamlessly with the shadows of trees and the reflection of moonlight on the lake. Observers describe them standing silently, sometimes walking slowly along the shoreline, as if caught between worlds. The figures do not approach, yet their presence is unmistakable, creating an atmosphere charged with mystery and an acute awareness of the unseen. In addition to these spectral figures, some witnesses have reported phantom boats floating silently on the lake. The boats glide across the water with no occupants, their movements smooth and deliberate. Ripples trail behind them, evidence of their passage, yet when observers approach, the boats vanish, leaving only calm water in their place. These encounters are fleeting but vivid, leaving a lasting impression on those who witness them. The combination of still water, pale figures, and silent motion evokes a sense of timelessness, as though the lake itself is a portal to another era. One visitor recounted an evening walk along a trail near the lake. The moon cast a silvery glow across the water, and a gentle breeze rustled through the trees. Out of the corner of the eye, a pale figure appeared, standing just at the edge of the shore. The figure remained motionless, yet the sense of presence was profound. Moments later, a small boat seemed to glide across the lake, leaving delicate ripples behind it, yet no one could be seen within. As the observer turned to get a closer view, both the figure and the boat vanished, leaving only the quiet sounds of the lake and the night. The natural features of White Rock Lake Park contribute to these experiences. The open water reflects light and shadows in shifting patterns, creating illusions that can appear lifelike. Trees along the shoreline provide pockets of darkness where figures can emerge and disappear. The gentle lapping of water and the rustle of leaves enhance auditory perception, allowing subtle sounds to carry in ways that make the environment feel inhabited by unseen presences. These elements combine to create an atmosphere where ordinary observation becomes an immersive experience of both beauty and mystery. Local legends suggest that the pale figures are the spirits of those who once visited the lake, or of individuals whose lives were intertwined with its waters. The phantom boats may be remnants of past activity, echoes of people who spent evenings rowing or fishing along the shore. Some believe that the lake itself holds memory and energy, manifesting in the forms, movements, and sounds perceived by visitors. Witness accounts are remarkably consistent, describing pale figures, boats gliding without occupants, and a heightened sense of presence along the water. Encountering the spectral figures and phantom boats at White Rock Lake is both captivating and unsettling. Observers report a sense of stillness, as if time itself has paused to allow the presence to reveal itself. The gentle motion of water, the shimmer of moonlight, and the soft outline of a figure create a scene that engages the senses fully, heightening awareness of the environment. Every ripple, every shadow, every movement along the shoreline feels deliberate, adding to the immersive quality of the encounter. A sense of impending doom and madness. Even when the figures and boats are not visible, the park retains a charged atmosphere. Where memory and imagination intertwine, and where the ordinary experience of a lakeside walk becomes extraordinary. Inviting reflection and curiosity. As night deepens over the lake, the waters shimmer with reflections of moonlight. And shadows stretch along the shoreline. Pale figures may stand silently at the water's edge, observing without movement, while phantom boats glide across the surface, leaving ripples as traces of their passage. The park endures as a place where the living encounter echoes of the past, where unseen presences remain tied to the landscape, and where visitors are reminded that even in the midst of a bustling city, mystery can thrive in quiet, unexpected ways. White Rock Lake Park is not just a park. It is a place where the lake, the land, and the spirits that linger converge to create an experience both haunting and unforgettable. Pioneer Park in Fort Worth is a space of open fields, scattered trees, and historic charm. By day, it is a place for families, joggers, and visitors exploring its trails. But as dusk settles over the park, a different atmosphere emerges, one that evokes echoes of the past and hints at the presence of those who once walked this land. Many visitors have reported the sound of footsteps echoing across the open fields when no one else is around. The steps are distinct, deliberate, and at times seem to keep pace with the visitor's own movements. Turn after turn along the winding paths, the footsteps follow, fading only when the visitor stops, then resuming when motion begins again. There is a rhythm to these phantom steps, a cadence that feels almost human yet impossible to trace. Fading only when the visitor stops, then resuming when motion begins again. Then resuming when motion begins again. Shadows add to the park's mysterious reputation. Along the edges of the fields, figures appear fleetingly, moving just beyond clear sight. They are not entirely visible, more like shifting darkness shaped like people. Observers have described the sensation of being watched, noticing movement in the periphery that disappears when directly observed. Sometimes, the shadows seem to mimic motion, echoing gestures as if the park itself is alive with the memory of those long gone. The most striking experiences involve ghostly figures in old pioneer clothing. Witnesses have seen men and women dressed in period attire, walking slowly across the fields or pausing near trees and benches. Their movements are purposeful yet serene, as though they are engaged in the routines of daily life long past. Approach, and they vanish instantly, leaving behind only the suggestion of their presence and the faint rustle of clothing against the night air. Environmental cues enhance the sense of the park's haunted quality. Breezes sweep through the trees, carrying whispers of sound or movement that cannot be traced. The air seems to grow heavier in certain areas, and faint impressions of footsteps appear in soft dirt or grass, only to vanish moments later. The activity appears concentrated around historical landmarks and older sections of the park. Visitors report the strongest experiences near the oldest trails, benches, and structures that date back to Fort Worth's pioneer era. It is as if the park holds memory in its land, echoing the lives and labors of those who shaped it. The figures in pioneer clothing may represent these early residents, their presence a lingering trace of history preserved in spectral form. Interactions are rarely malevolent. The footsteps, shadows, and apparitions evoke a sense of connection rather than danger. Visitors often describe a mixture of awe and unease, a heightened awareness of every sound and movement. Even the faintest rustle of leaves or the glimmer of moonlight across the fields can trigger the perception of presence, as if the park itself responds to the observer's attention. There are reports of multiple phenomena occurring simultaneously. Footsteps may echo while shadows shift, and ghostly figures appear in different parts of the park at once. The layering of these experiences creates a disorienting effect, making the visitor aware of time and space differently. The park becomes a space where past and present coexist. A place where memory manifests through fleeting figures, sound, and sensation. Some visitors have described subtle physical interactions. A breeze brushes across the skin in areas where no wind should reach, or the ground underfoot feels slightly disturbed, as if invisible walkers have passed before them. These minor disturbances add to the realism of the encounters, grounding the ethereal activity in the tangible environment of Pioneer Park. The park's open fields, combined with its historical significance, create a unique canvas for these ghostly occurrences. Unlike urban hauntings, the wide expanses allow for long lines of sight, making the appearance of shadows and figures more dramatic and unsettling. The absence of other people after dark emphasizes the isolation and enhances the intensity of the experiences. Visitors often feel a profound sense of being alone yet watched, a duality that lingers even after leaving the park. Over time, the accounts of ghostly figures and footsteps have become part of the lore surrounding Pioneer Park. Locals and visitors alike share stories of these experiences, perpetuating the idea that the park is more than a recreational space. It is a place where the past lingers, where the spirits of Fort Worth's early settlers continue to move among the trees and fields, unseen yet ever present. By the end of the night, as the moon climbs high and the night, shadows stretch long across the open fields, and the air settles into quiet. Yet the memory of presence remains in the minds of those who witnessed it. Pioneer Park becomes more than a location. It becomes a bridge between the living and the echoes of the past. A place where history walks alongside the present, visible only to those who pay close attention. Pioneer Park, Fort Worth, is a reminder that even in modern landscapes, the past can persist. The footsteps, shadows, and ghostly pioneers evoke a connection across time, inviting visitors to consider the lives that once shaped the land. For those who explore after dark, the park offers a rare and haunting glimpse into a history that refuses to remain silent. A space where the echoes of pioneers continue their endless walk across the fields. City Park in Beaumont is a sprawling green space, filled with winding pathways, open fields, and an old pavilion that has stood for decades. By day, the park is alive with children playing, families gathering, and the gentle hum of everyday life. But as night falls, the atmosphere changes. A quiet settles over the fields, the trees whisper in the breeze, and the echoes of the past seem to awaken. Visitors who wander the park after dark describe experiences that are both subtle and unsettling. Many speak of seeing a ghostly woman walking near the pavilion. She appears dressed in clothing from another era, moving slowly along the pathways. Her presence marked by an otherworldly calm. Those who attempt to approach often find she vanishes before they reach her, leaving only a lingering sense of being watched. Faint music often accompanies her appearances. Notes drift softly across the empty fields, echoing as if from a distant bandstand. Sometimes it is the light strumming of a piano, other times the gentle melody of a violin. The source is never visible, but the sound is unmistakable, carrying the weight of time and memory. Visitors have reported hearing the music swell briefly as they draw near, only to fade as if the instruments themselves are conscious of being observed. Laughter is another common occurrence. It rises from the shadows, soft and playful, yet tinged with melancholy. The sound is fleeting, appearing and disappearing across the open spaces of the park. Witnesses describe it as belonging to children or young adults, carrying an energy that once filled the park but now exists only in memory. The laughter seems to come from nowhere and everywhere at once, brushing the senses and leaving a tingling unease in its wake. The pavilion, long unused and weathered by time, serves as a focal point for many of these experiences. The structure stands silent, its pillars casting long shadows under the moonlight. Visitors report seeing flickers of movement inside, as if someone were walking among the columns. Occasionally, lights appear where none should exist, soft glows that illuminate the interior for brief moments before vanishing entirely. Walking the park at night, many feel a subtle change in the air. A chill seems to settle around the pavilion, even on warm evenings. Breezes carry whispers that cannot be traced, words that are half-formed, like fragments of conversations from years past. Footsteps echo across the empty fields, yet no living person is present. Sometimes, the faint rustle of clothing or a soft shuffle accompanies the sounds, reinforcing the sense that somania or somthinga is present. Some visitors have described an intense awareness of being observed. The feeling is never threatening, but it is unmistakable. Shadows shift at the edge of vision, glimpses of figures moving just beyond direct sight. It is as if the park itself holds memories, replaying scenes from bygone days for those who are quiet enough to notice. The woman near the pavilion appears repeatedly in reports, as if she is bound to the space, a guardian of echoes long past. The presence of these spectral phenomena does not confine itself solely to the pavilion. Along the walkways, through the trees, and across the open fields, witnesses report similar occurrences. Shadows that move independently of any light, faint touches on the skin that cannot be traced, and distant music that fades before it can be fully recognized. Each element combines to create a sense of the park as a living memory, a place where time is layered and the past lingers. Even those who do not see the ghostly woman often feel her presence. A subtle shift in the atmosphere, a sudden hush, or the distant echo of laughter can indicate she is near. Visitors describe a mix of awe and unease. Drawn to the park's mysteries while remaining conscious of the unknown. The experience is immersive, as if stepping into a space where the ordinary and the spectral coexist. The park's history adds depth to these experiences. Generations of families have gathered here, celebrating, playing, and creating memories. The laughter that echoes across empty fields is a reminder of these moments, preserved in the energy of the space itself. The pavilion, once a hub of social gatherings, now acts as a stage for the unseen, holding the residual presence of those who once filled the park with life. For those who linger near the pavilion at night, the sensory details are vivid. Music and laughter blend with the natural sounds of the park, creating an atmosphere that is both enchanting and disquieting. Time seems to stretch, allowing the observer to feel the lingering spirit of past visitors. The ghostly woman's appearances are sporadic, never predictable, yet consistent in their impact. Witnesses describe a sense of calm, an invitation to pause and witness the invisible. Her presence feels tied to the pavilion and surrounding fields, an enduring connection to a space that has seen countless seasons, events, and lives. She is a reminder of the park's history, a silent observer of the cycles of human presence and absence. Experiences at City Park are personal and varied, but the common threads are unmistakable. Shadows, whispers, faint music, and laughter all point to the same truth. The park holds memories that continue to manifest in subtle, haunting ways. Visitors leave with stories of glimpses and sensations, a sense of having encountered the unseen, and an understanding that the park is more than a collection of paths and trees. City Park in Beaumont is a space where the ordinary and the extraordinary coexist. The ghostly woman near the pavilion, the whispers, and the faint music remind all who visit that some memories refuse to fade. They linger in the air, in the shadows, and in the fields, waiting to be noticed by those who are quiet enough to listen. Walking through the park at night, one feels the layers of time and presence. Each step along the pathways, each glance toward the pavilion, carries the possibility of encountering the unseen. City Park is alive with echoes. And those who enter are invited to witness a place where the past is ever present. And the spectral continues to watch, play, and walk among the living. Hemisfair Park in Houston is a sprawling urban oasis, a place of gardens, trails, and quiet ponds. By day, it hums with activity. Families stroll along paths, joggers weave through trees, and the laughter of children blends with the calls of birds. But as night falls and the park empties, a different energy settles over the grounds. Shadows deepen, pathways become silent, and some visitors have reported experiences that cannot be explained by ordinary perception. Along the winding trails, figures are sometimes seen walking just out of reach. They move with purpose, yet vanish when approached, leaving no footprints or evidence of their passage. These apparitions are rarely threatening, but their presence evokes a feeling that the park is not entirely empty, that it holds memories and echoes from those who have walked here before. Swings in the playground sometimes move on their own, swaying gently without wind or human touch. The motion is subtle, a quiet reminder that the ordinary laws of physics seem suspended in certain corners of the park. Witnesses often pause, scanning the empty playground, sensing a presence that is unseen but undeniably felt. Phantom voices are reported along the paths, soft and fleeting. Some hikers hear their own names called, just beyond the edge of hearing. The voices are never clear or coherent, more fragments than sentences. Yet they carry an urgency that is impossible to ignore. Those who hear them often describe a shiver down the spine, an awareness that something unseen is observing, even interacting with the living. Certain areas of the park seem more active than others. Near ponds or under dense tree cover, whispers echo closer. The air feels charged. Some visitors report catching glimpses of figures in old-fashioned attire. Their forms flickering like images on water, appearing and dissolving as though they exist between moments. These phenomena are subtle yet persistent. Walkers feel the sensation of being watched. The brushing of unseen hands along the arms or shoulders. And the sound of footsteps that do not match their own. Lights may flicker or reflect oddly on water surfaces, creating fleeting shapes that vanish as quickly as they appear. Each experience adds to the growing sense that Hemisfair Park is not merely a place of leisure, but a space where the past and present intertwine. The park's history adds layers to these encounters. Built over decades, with trails and gardens evolving over time. The grounds have been walked by countless people. Some believe that these ghostly manifestations are echoes of lives once lived. A lingering energy that imprints on the environment. Whispers, moving swings, and fleeting figures may be remnants of those who have left the world, yet continue to linger in the spaces they once knew. Visitors who experience these phenomena often describe an acute awareness of their surroundings. Every rustle of leaves, every ripple across the water, and every shadow becomes a potential signal of something beyond the ordinary. The quiet of night amplifies these sensations, creating an atmosphere that is both unsettling and mesmerizing. While the figures and sounds are rarely aggressive, they provoke caution and curiosity. Those walking the park alone report heightened senses, ears straining for sound, eyes scanning for movement. And a persistent feeling that the park is alive in a way that extends beyond the visible. The interplay of movement, whispering voices, and subtle changes in the environment creates an experience that is difficult to forget. Some witnesses have described fleeting glimpses of figures moving through the trees or along the pond edges, their shapes blurred and indistinct. Others feel the gentle pressure of a presence beside them, a weight sensed rather than seen. The swings continue to sway, shadows lengthen, and the park seems to hum with energy that is invisible yet undeniable. These experiences transform Hemisfair Park at night into a space where ordinary reality becomes tinged with the extraordinary. The trails, the ponds, the playgrounds, all become stages for subtle interactions between the seen and unseen. The sensations leave visitors with a heightened awareness and understanding that even familiar spaces can hold secrets beyond perception. In the stillness of night, the park seems to breathe, responding to those who move through it. Shadows, whispers, and gently swaying swings are reminders that the history of the park is embedded in its very soil, water, and trees. Every visitor who walks these paths contributes to the ongoing narrative of presence and memory. Ultimately, Hemisfair Park demonstrates the delicate intersection of history, environment, and unexplained phenomena. Shadows walking along trails, phantom voices calling names, and swings moving without wind serve as a reminder that some places carry energies beyond human understanding. The park becomes more than a recreation area. It becomes a space of reflection, observation, and the subtle presence of the unseen. Walking Hemisfair Park at night is an exercise in awareness. Every rustle of leaves, every flicker of light, and every whisper carries potential significance. Figures appear and vanish, voices float on the wind, and swings sway with no human touch. The park reveals itself as a place where the ordinary transforms into something extraordinary, where the boundary between the living and unseen blurs. Visitors leave with a sense of reverence, caution, and wonder. Hemisfair Park at night is a testament to the presence of things unseen, the echoes of those who walked the grounds before, and the continuing story of a place that is both ordinary and extraordinary. It is a park where the living are reminded that every space holds the potential for mystery, memory, and encounters beyond the ordinary. Trinity Park in Fort Worth is a sprawling urban oasis, filled with walking trails, playgrounds, and open green spaces. By day, families stroll along tree-lined paths, children laugh and chase each other across the lawns, and joggers weave between benches and bridges. The park is alive with energy, a place where the city and nature converge in harmonious activity. Yet as evening descends and the sounds of the city fade, Trinity Park transforms, taking on a quieter, more mysterious character that has fascinated and unsettled visitors for decades. Those who wander the park after dark often report hearing the sounds of children running and playing along paths that appear empty. Footsteps echo across the pavement. Laughter drifts softly through the trees, and the faint shuffle of movement suggests activity that cannot be explained. The sounds are distinct, playful, and unmistakably human, yet no children are ever present. Observers describe a heightened awareness as they listen, their senses tuned to the soft rustle of leaves and the echo of movement, aware that the park seems alive with unseen energy. In addition to these auditory experiences, some visitors have glimpsed pale figures standing at benches, near playground equipment, or along quiet trails. The figures appear human in shape, dressed in light or indistinct clothing, and they remain motionless for brief moments, observing the surroundings. Occasionally, they shift slightly or vanish when approached, leaving only the empty bench or playground behind. These encounters create a profound sense of presence, as if the park itself holds memories that play out quietly for those who linger after sunset. One visitor recounted walking along a quiet path near a playground just after dusk. The air was cool, and the shadows of trees stretched across the pavement. From the corner of the eye, a pale figure appeared at the top of a slide, standing perfectly still. The observer paused, listening as soft laughter drifted through the air and the faint sound of running footsteps echoed along the paths. When they turned to look directly, the figure was gone, leaving only the playground bathed in moonlight and the memory of a presence that had been undeniably real. The landscape and design of Trinity Park contribute to these experiences. Tree-lined paths, benches tucked into corners, and wide open lawns create spaces where shadows and sound carry in unexpected ways. The interplay of streetlights, moonlight, and reflections from nearby water amplify visual and auditory perception. Even the gentle rustle of leaves or the movement of wind across the trees can create impressions of motion or presence that enhance the experience of witnessing the park's unexplained phenomena. Local lore suggests that these pale figures and ghostly sounds may be echoes of children who played in the park in decades past. Some believe that the park preserves the energy of past visitors, replaying moments of joy and play for those who walk its paths after dark. Others suggest that the sounds and figures are residual presences, lingering in specific areas like playgrounds, benches, and trails where life and activity were most concentrated. Witnesses consistently report similar experiences: children's laughter, footsteps along empty paths, and pale figures standing silently, indicating a continuity that adds to the park's reputation as a place of mystery. Experiencing Trinity Park after sunset is both enchanting and unsettling. The sounds of invisible children running, laughter echoing across empty spaces, and pale figures moving silently through the shadows create a heightened awareness of the surroundings. Visitors often notice small details they might otherwise overlook: the texture of a bench, the alignment of paths, the reflection of moonlight on leaves or water. Each element contributes to the sense that the park is alive with history and memory, an environment where past and present coexist in subtle yet unmistakable ways. Even in moments of silence, the park retains a charged atmosphere. Guests frequently describe a lingering awareness of presence, a quiet sense of observation that persists long after the figures and sounds have faded. The experience emphasizes that memory, emotion, and human presence can endure in a space, lingering in ways that are imperceptible to casual observation yet profoundly affecting to those attuned to the environment. Trinity Park becomes more than a recreational space; it becomes a living repository of echoes, an intersection of natural beauty and invisible life that continues to inhabit the park's paths, benches, and playgrounds. As night deepens over Fort Worth, the faint sound of footsteps may drift along tree-lined paths, and pale figures may appear momentarily, observing silently from the edges of playgrounds or benches, where memory and presence converge, and where visitors are reminded that even in the heart of a city, unseen life can persist quietly, playfully, and endlessly through the night. Lee Park in Dallas is a place that seems serene by day, filled with the quiet rustle of leaves, chirping birds, and the laughter of families strolling along its paths. But as the sun dips below the horizon, the atmosphere of the park subtly shifts, revealing a layer of presence that is not visible to all. Visitors who linger after dark often speak of experiences that hint at a history still lingering in the shadows. Among the trees, figures appear without warning. They move slowly, almost gliding over the grass, and vanish instantly if approached. The figures are fleeting, their forms difficult to discern in the dim light. Yet their presence is unmistakable. Witnesses describe a sense of awareness, a feeling of being observed by someone who is there yet not there. The edges of vision often capture movements that disappear when looked at directly, creating an uneasy sense of another world coexisting with the park. Footsteps echo along the empty walking paths at night. These are not the sounds of other visitors or animals, but deliberate, measured steps that seem to follow the rhythm of those who wander the park. Some report hearing the sound of soft scuffing on the dirt trails, the faint click of shoes that belong to no living person. The sounds come from different directions at once, suggesting that multiple presences may be moving unseen among the trees and benches. Whispers accompany these movements. Faint, indistinct, and impossible to localize, the murmurs float along the paths. Visitors describe them as half-formed words, unintelligible yet undeniably human in quality. The whispers seem to respond to the observer's attention, becoming clearer when curiosity is piqued, then dissolving into silence as the listener approaches the source. It is as if the park itself holds the voices of past events, echoing faintly for those who remain after dark. The park's environment amplifies these phenomena. Thick trees and winding paths create pockets of shadow where the figures seem to appear and disappear. Benches, stone borders, and lampposts serve as visual anchors against which movement can be glimpsed. The contrast of light and dark makes the fleeting presence of figures more dramatic, and the quiet of night intensifies every sound, every rustle of leaves, every soft footfall. The quiet of night intensifies every sound, every rustle of leaves, every soft footfall. Some visitors report seeing more than shadows. A form may pause beside a tree, seemingly examining its surroundings, only to vanish when approached. The air near these sightings often feels colder. A subtle chill that raises goosebumps. Some say the temperature shifts suddenly, and the feeling of presence is accompanied by a weight in the chest. A momentary awareness of being close to something not human. The encounters are not malevolent, yet they inspire a mixture of awe and apprehension. The figures, whispers, and footsteps suggest a world that is parallel to our own, coexisting in a space that appears ordinary in daylight. Visitors have described a heightened sense of perception, noticing every detail of the park with clarity, from the sway of branches to the glimmer of moonlight on a bench. Each sound and movement becomes significant, as if the park is a stage on which unseen actors perform in silence. Multiple phenomena can occur simultaneously. A figure may appear among the trees while footsteps echo along the path. Whispers may rise and fade as shadows shift. The layering of these experiences creates a feeling of being immersed in a space where past and present intersect. Physical sensations accompany these encounters for some visitors. A breeze may brush past unexpectedly, carrying no wind from the surrounding environment. Grass or leaves underfoot may feel slightly disturbed as if someone has passed moments before. These subtle interactions add to the realism of the experiences, creating a tangible connection between observer and presence, even when no visible form is apparent. Certain areas of the park seem to be more active. Visitors often notice phenomena near older sections of the park. Around clusters of trees and along winding trails that have remained largely unchanged for decades. It is as if the history of the space imprints itself upon these areas, allowing echoes of the past to persist. Figures in shadows may represent people who once walked these paths, continuing to move in silence long after their time. The experiences at Lee Park leave a lasting impression. Witnesses describe a lingering awareness even after leaving, a sense that something remains just beyond perception. Footsteps fade, figures vanish, and whispers cease, yet the memory of presence remains. The park becomes more than a recreational space, it transforms into a bridge between the present and the lingering echoes of the past. Lee Park, Dallas, invites exploration beyond the daylight experience. The trees, paths, and shadows become part of a landscape alive with history, where figures from another time continue their silent routines. The footsteps, whispers, and fleeting shadows serve as reminders that the past is never fully gone. That the stories and spirits of those who came before continue to move among the trees and trails, visible only to those who observe with careful attention. For those who venture after dusk, Lee Park is a place of quiet mystery. To walk among shadows, hear whispers, and sense presences that belong to no living person. In this way, the park becomes a living museum of memory. A space where the unseen can still be felt, and where the ordinary transforms into something quietly extraordinary after dark. MacArthur Park in Houston is a place of contrasts, where the everyday hum of the city meets the quiet stillness of open green spaces. By day, families gather around the fountains, children laugh as they swing from the playground, and joggers trace the winding pathways. By day, families gather around the fountains, and joggers trace the winding pathways. But as dusk falls and the city lights flicker on, the shadows stretch long across the grass, and the familiar sounds of daytime retreat into whispers. At night, the park takes on a mysterious life of its own. Swings move gently as if someone invisible rocks them back and forth, creaking in a rhythm that feels almost deliberate. Empty benches groan under no weight, tilting slightly as though someone has just risen, leaving an unseen presence behind. The air carries a chill, subtle yet persistent, hinting at stories that linger in the darkness. Visitors who walk the park after dark describe encounters with figures in historical attire. The clothing appears to belong to a bygone era, formal coats, long dresses, and hats that echo the fashion of decades past. These figures do not rush, nor do they speak, yet their presence is felt deeply. They seem bound to the park, moving in patterns that suggest memories etched into the space itself. Sometimes, the figures can be glimpsed in peripheral vision, disappearing when directly observed. Other times, they appear fully, walking slowly along the streets, pausing at corners or near fountains before fading into the night. Witnesses report a sense of being watched, a quiet awareness that something or something is nearby, observing the living from the shadows. The park's architecture and landscaping contribute to the eerie atmosphere. Old lamp posts cast pools of light on empty streets, creating stark contrasts between shadow and illumination. Trees sway in the breeze, their branches scratching against each other, echoing the sounds of footsteps that may not exist. The fountains gurgle softly, their water reflecting faint glimmers that resemble lanterns or eyes in the dark. Sounds play a significant role in the park's nocturnal ambience. The swings creak and groan, footsteps echo along brick paths. And distant, untraceable whispers seem to drift through the air. Some visitors have reported faint music, notes from a piano or strings that vanish when approached. Others hear murmurs, conversations in voices that cannot be identified, fragments of dialogue that hint at stories long forgotten. Encounters are not limited to visual and auditory phenomena. The air often carries sudden chills. And some feel a cold presence brush past them. Light and intangible, yet undeniable. Others experience a sense of weight. As though the space is shared with the unseen. The historical figures are not aggressive, but they are persistent. Reports suggest they are connected to the park's past, echoes of people who once lived, worked, and played in the area. Their appearances are sporadic, never predictable, yet consistent enough that visitors recount similar experiences across different nights and years. Swings continue to sway, benches creak, and the shadows move, a timeless performance that plays for anyone who dares to witness. MacArthur Park's blend of urban life and open space seems to preserve these echoes. The contrast between city noise and nighttime stillness amplifies the subtle, spectral activity. Observers often report that the presence feels most intense along pathways lined with older trees and near structures that have remained for decades, hints that the environment itself holds memory. Some visitors have described a sensation of being guided, led along the park's pathways by unseen hands. The movements of the historical figures often correspond to areas where park activity once thrived, from old streets to gathering spots near fountains and benches. It is as if the park replays scenes from the past, offering glimpses into lives that have long since departed. Despite the ghostly activity, the park maintains a serene and strangely inviting atmosphere. The phenomena are not malevolent, they are observers. They are observers, echoes of history that linger in time and space. People feel the presence of these spectral visitors without fear. More in awe of the continuity of memory and the persistence of history than in dread. As night deepens, the park's unusual character intensifies. Swings sway in the moonlight, benches tilt slightly. And figures in historical clothing walk quietly along empty streets. Whispers of conversation, faint music, and distant creaks blend with the natural sounds of the night, forming a tapestry of sensory impressions that makes visitors question what is real and what is memory. The experience of MacArthur Park at night is immersive. Every step, every glance toward a lamp post or a tree, carries the possibility of encountering the unseen. Shadows shift and sway, figures appear and vanish. And the park itself feels alive with stories waiting to be observed. Visitors leave with a heightened awareness of the layers of time that inhabit the space, carrying with them the sense that the past has not entirely left, but continues to walk, move, and watch. The experience of MacArthur Park at night is immersive. MacArthur Park in Houston is a place where history and the present intertwine. The swings, the benches, the shadows, and the figures in historical attire serve as a reminder that memory can be tangible, and the past is never fully gone. Those who wander its streets after dark may find themselves witnesses to an ongoing performance, one that connects the living with echoes of a time long before, leaving the park alive with the presence of the unseen. Sam Houston Park in Houston is a place of history and greenery, a space where cobblestone paths wind between pavilions, historical buildings, and towering trees. By day, it is filled with the laughter of children, the chatter of visitors, and the soft rustle of leaves. But as dusk falls and the last visitors leave, a different atmosphere settles over the park. Shadows grow long, the air becomes cool, and some visitors report experiences that defy explanation. Along the tree-lined pathways, figures have been seen moving between the pavilions. They are rarely solid or distinct, often appearing as blurred shapes that shift just out of reach. When approached, these shadows vanish, leaving only the sense that Samania or Somthinga is present. Hikers and evening walkers speak of sudden chills and the feeling of being watched, even when they are alone. The park's historical buildings, some preserved from the 19th century, are a focus of many experiences. Within these empty structures, whispers can be heard, faint and fragmented, as though conversations from long ago are replaying in the air. Occasionally, soft music drifts through the halls, a melody that seems out of place yet fills the rooms with an eerie resonance. The sounds vanish when closely investigated, leaving visitors with the strange certainty that the park holds more than just its visible history. Some witnesses described fleeting glimpses of people in period clothing moving through the park. Men in coats and hats, women in long dresses, and children carrying lanterns appear momentarily, walking the paths before disappearing. These visions are never threatening, but they are compelling, prompting a mixture of curiosity and unease in those who observe them. Footsteps are frequently reported, echoing across the cobblestones or through empty halls. The rhythm of these phantom footsteps can be slow and deliberate or quick and fleeting, creating an atmosphere of suspense and heightened awareness. The sound often follows visitors, approaching from behind or circling around them, yet when they turn, there is no one in sight. The atmosphere of suspense and heightened awareness. Even the trees seem to participate in the park's subtle phenomena. Leaves rustle despite the absence of wind. And shadows stretch and move in ways that do not correspond with the light sources. Visitors have described the sensation of invisible hands brushing past them, gentle yet unmistakable. And the fleeting impression of someone walking just alongside, never seen but deeply felt. Some evening walkers hear voices calling names, soft and urgent, as if trying to communicate. Others feel the pull of something unseen, a gentle tug that guides them along the paths or toward the historical structures. The experiences are not violent, but they are persistent, leaving an impression that the park is a living archive of memory. A place where the past lingers and sometimes reaches into the present. Visitors who linger near the pavilions often report the most activity. Shadows move between posts. Lights flicker in empty windows. And whispers echo just out of comprehension. The combination of historical architecture and quiet surroundings creates a space where the imagination is engaged. And the line between the tangible and intangible blurs. The park's history contributes to its enigmatic presence. Buildings once filled with families, artisans, and officials now stand silent. Yet it is as though the echoes of daily life remain. The whispers, music, and shadows may be manifestations of memory itself, lingering in the spaces where life was once vivid and ongoing. Every step, every rustle, and every fleeting vision seems to reaffirm that history is not entirely contained in the past. Many visitors describe a growing awareness as they walk the park after dark. Sounds of footsteps, faint melodies, and whispers seem to weave around them, creating a rhythm that is both familiar and otherworldly. The park transforms into a place where the senses are heightened, where every sound and movement feels significant, and where the unseen is almost tangible. Even the benches and pathways seem to carry energy. The benches shift slightly, as if someone momentarily sat, and shadows stretch across the paths in ways that defy explanation. The feeling of being observed is a common thread in all experiences, subtle yet undeniable, making visitors keenly aware of their surroundings and the invisible presence that might be sharing them. The feeling of being observed is a common thread in all experiences, subtle yet undeniable, making visitors keenly aware of their surroundings and the invisible presence that might be sharing them. The phenomena are not consistent or predictable, which makes each encounter unique. Some nights are silent, with only the natural sounds of wind and wildlife. Other nights bring whispers, moving shadows, and the sensation of following footsteps. This variability adds to the mystery, making the park a place where stories and experiences continue to accumulate over time. Ultimately, Sam Houston Park demonstrates the delicate interplay between history, environment, and the unexplained. Shadows moving through the trees, whispers from empty buildings, and music that arises from nowhere. All create a layered experience, blending the past with the present. Visitors leave with a sense of reverence and wonder, aware that the park is a living tapestry of history and mystery. A space where the ordinary intersects with the extraordinary, and where unseen presences continue to leave their subtle mark. Walking the park after dark becomes every rustle, every flicker of light, and every soft sound takes on potential significance. Shadows move, voices echo, and the park itself seems alive in ways that the eye cannot always see. Sam Houston Park stands as a reminder that some spaces hold more than what is visible, inviting those who enter to witness the quiet dialogue between the living and the unseen. Between the living and the unseen. Some spaces hold more than what is visible. Buffalo Springs Park in Lubbock is a vast expanse of open fields, winding trails, and shaded pavilions. By day, it is alive with families enjoying picnics, joggers tracing the paths, and the gentle sounds of nature filling the air. Children's laughter echoes across the grass, birds call from the trees, and the sun reflects off the small springs scattered throughout the park. Yet as daylight fades and shadows stretch across the grounds, the park transforms, taking on a presence that is subtle, unsettling, and impossible to ignore. Visitors who explore Buffalo Springs Park after dark often report hearing phantom footsteps along the trails and near the old pavilions. The steps are soft but deliberate, echoing across empty paths and grassy areas where no one walks. Observers frequently pause, straining to hear the source, yet find only silence. The sensation of movement persists, a reminder that the park carries a memory of life and activity beyond what is physically present. The footsteps seem to move closer, then recede, creating a rhythmic presence that is both eerie and mesmerizing. Alongside these sounds, figures have been seen in the distance, barely discernible in the dark. They appear human in shape, sometimes standing near the pavilions or along tree lines, and are often described as motionless and observing. The figures are faint, sometimes vanishing when approached, leaving only empty space behind. Witnesses report a mixture of curiosity and unease. An awareness that the park is alive with energy that is unseen, yet tangible in its effects. One visitor recounted walking along a trail near an old pavilion late in the evening. The sun had set, and the sky was painted in deep shades of blue and gray. As they approached the pavilion, a series of footsteps echoed softly across the grass. A figure appeared near the edge of the pavilion, pale in the dim light, standing silently as if waiting. When the visitor moved closer, the figure disappeared into the shadows, leaving behind the faint impression of presence and the echo of footsteps that continued for a few moments longer. The experience was haunting yet captivating, a direct connection to the park's lingering energy. The layout and features of Buffalo Springs Park contribute to the phenomenon. Open fields, dense trees, and scattered structures create pockets of shadow where movement can be glimpsed but not fully understood. The gentle sounds of wind through trees and across grass amplify the perception of footsteps and shifting shapes. Moonlight reflecting off the springs and water features casts moving patterns across the ground, adding to the sense that the park is inhabited by unseen presences. These natural elements combine to heighten the sensation of a space alive with subtle activity. Local stories suggest that the figures and footsteps are echoes of visitors and parkgoers from decades past. Some believe the spirits are those who frequented the park, whose energy remains in the areas they loved most, particularly near the pavilions and trails. Others suggest that the park itself retains memories of activity and life, replaying them in subtle ways for those who walk its paths after dark. Visitors consistently describe similar phenomena: footsteps along empty trails, distant figures, and a sense of being watched or accompanied. Experiencing Buffalo Springs Park at night is both eerie and captivating. The sounds, shadows, and movement engage the senses fully, creating heightened awareness of the surroundings. Observers notice the texture of paths, the interplay of light and shadow, and the distant reflections on the springs. Each creak, rustle, or shift feels deliberate, as though the park itself is aware of those who move through it. The combination of sound, sight, and sensation creates a deeply immersive experience that is both memorable and unnerving. Even when no figures are visible and the footsteps are absent, the park retains a charged atmosphere. Guests often describe a lingering sense of presence, an awareness that the space is occupied by memories and energy from the past. The experience emphasizes that memory, activity, and energy can exist in subtle, almost imperceptible ways, yet profoundly affect those attuned to the environment. Buffalo Springs Park becomes more than a recreational space. A place where past and present intersect. Where unseen presences coexist with the living. And where the ordinary walks of a park are transformed into encounters with something greater. As night deepens over Lubbock, Buffalo Springs Park stands cloaked in shadows and moonlight. Figures may appear near old pavilions. Footsteps may echo softly along empty trails. And the park seems to breathe with the energy of unseen visitors. The space endures as a location where the living encounter echoes of the past. Where the environment itself feels alive. And where those who walk its paths after dark are reminded that memory, presence, and history can persist in ways that are subtle, silent, and unforgettable. Tanglewood Park in San Antonio is a place of quiet beauty during the day. Children's laughter fills the air, families stroll along winding trails, and the sunlight filters through the dense canopy of trees, casting shifting patterns across the ground. Children's laughter fills the air, families stroll along winding trails, and the sunlight filters through the dense canopy of trees, casting shifting patterns across the ground. Yet when night falls, the park transforms. Yet when night falls, the park transforms. The laughter that once belonged to the living seems to linger long after the playgrounds are empty, echoing across swings, slides, and sandboxes in a way that is unmistakably human, yet hauntingly otherworldly. Visitors who stay after dusk often speak of shadowy figures moving along the trails. These shapes appear and vanish without warning. Sometimes a figure is glimpsed flitting among the trees, its movements deliberate but silent, as if carefully avoiding notice. When approached, it disappears, leaving only the sensation that someone has been there, watching from just beyond sight. The park at night becomes a labyrinth of movement and absence, where shadows seem alive, existing in a space parallel to the one visitors occupy. The sounds of the park at night are equally unsettling. Laughter carries through the air, sometimes from playgrounds no longer in use. Other times echoing from empty fields. The sound is faint yet distinct, a reminder of the presence of something unseen. These experiences create an environment where every noise feels amplified, every movement significant. Visitors report that certain trails seem to attract more activity. Narrow paths lined with thick foliage provide perfect concealment for shadowy forms. Lights from nearby streets or passing cars illuminate portions of these trails, only to reveal nothing. The contrast between what is expected and what appears heightens tension. And the sudden disappearance of shapes or figures leaves a lingering sense of unease. Footsteps are often heard where no one walks. Visitors describe the sound as deliberate, slow, and careful. The steps sometimes follow, echoing behind them, and then abruptly stop. Some report the feeling of being watched, a presence close enough to sense, yet invisible to the eye. It is a sensation that creates both fascination and apprehension, a mixture of curiosity and fear that keeps people alert and aware of every detail in the environment. Shadows among the trees are the most common visual phenomena. They shift, stretch, and move as if alive. Some observers describe fleeting glimpses of small figures, resembling children, playing or running along the paths. Others see larger forms standing silently among the trees, watching, unmoving, until they disappear with a subtle flicker, as if the night itself swallows them whole. The interaction between light and dark enhances the sense of mystery, turning ordinary movements of leaves and branches into experiences that feel almost supernatural. The air itself seems different at night. A subtle chill often accompanies sightings. A coldness that descends suddenly and lifts just as quickly. Some visitors report feeling a presence beside them. A weight or brush against their arm. With no visible source. The combination of temperature changes, faint sounds, and shadowy figures creates a multisensory encounter. Making the experience of walking through Tanglewood Park at night unlike any ordinary stroll. Certain spots in the park seem to have lingering energy. The playgrounds, empty fields, and small benches along the trails appear to serve as focal points for these occurrences. Laughter, footsteps, and fleeting shadows are more frequently reported in these areas. Visitors often find themselves drawn to these spots, sensing the lingering traces of past activity, as though the park remembers the presence of those who have been there before. Despite the unsettling aspects, many describe a fascination with the park at night. The interplay of shadow and light, sound and silence, presence and absence creates an environment that is immersive and captivating. Every step feels significant, every rustle a potential revelation, and every echo of laughter a reminder of a world that exists alongside our own, hidden just beyond perception. Encounters are often brief but memorable. A figure may appear near a tree, pause, and vanish into darkness. Laughter might carry from an empty playground, only to fade into silence. These fleeting moments leave a lasting impression, a mixture of wonder and unease that stays long after visitors have left the park. Tanglewood Park at night is not dangerous. Yet it demands attention and respect. Visitors learn to move quietly, to notice small details, and to remain aware of the invisible layers of life that may exist alongside their own. The park becomes a space where the ordinary and extraordinary coexist. Where shadows play and whispers echo. And where unseen presences continue their routines long after the last human has left. For those willing to linger after dark, Tanglewood Park offers a unique experience. It is a place where shadowy figures traverse trails, laughter echoes from empty playgrounds, and the night feels alive with presence. Every tree, path, and bench carries stories that are only perceptible to those who observe with care. The park transforms into a living tableau, a stage for subtle yet unmistakable encounters with the unseen, leaving visitors with a sense of awe, curiosity, and a heightened awareness of the world around them. Walking through Tanglewood Park after sunset is an shadows dance among trees. Echoes of laughter fill the air. Trails seem to guide visitors toward experiences that are. Each sighting sound and sensation contributes to the park's, making it a place where the ordinary transforms into something, and where the boundary between the visible and invisible is. Tanglewood Park in San Antonio is a reminder that spaces hold memory, that the past continues to resonate, and that even in places of play and recreation, unseen presences may linger, waiting for those who walk its trails at night, to witness the subtle, haunting beauty of what remains unseen. Brackenridge Park in San Antonio is a place where the past and present intertwine quietly along winding river paths. By day, families stroll along the walkways, children laugh near the playgrounds, and the soft murmur of water accompanies joggers and picnickers. Yet, as dusk settles and shadows lengthen, the park transforms, revealing a world layered with history, memory, and something less tangible. At night, the park takes on an air of mystery. Figures in old clothing are reported wandering near the river, their attire suggesting another era. These figures seem unaware of the living, as if caught in a different time, repeating gestures that hint at routines of a life once lived. These figures seem unaware of the living, as if caught in a different time, repeating gestures that hint at routines of a life once lived. Visitors often describe hearing whispers calling their names as they walk along the riverbanks. The sound is soft, carried on the cool evening air, intimate and elusive. Footsteps follow closely behind, echoing along empty pathways, yet no one is seen. The phenomenon is subtle, a reminder that the park is not only a space for the living but a corridor for memories that refuse to fade. Brackenridge Park's landscape contributes to the haunting experience. The river snakes quietly through the grounds, reflecting moonlight. Tall trees sway with the evening breeze, casting moving shadows. Old bridges and stone pathways carry the weight of decades. In the stillness of night, every creak and sigh of the wood or stone feels amplified. The figures are often glimpsed in peripheral vision, disappearing when looked at directly. Sometimes they pause by lampposts or benches, staring at the flowing water or the trees, then vanish silently. The experience can be unsettling, yet it is never aggressive. Observers feel the presence of the past brushing against their reality. A quiet acknowledgement that lives once intertwined with the park remain in subtle ways. Sounds play a crucial role in the park's nocturnal character. Whispers drift through the air, sometimes forming fragments of sentences or calling names softly, while footsteps echo along empty streets and pathways. Other times, laughter, light and faint, can be heard as if from children long gone. The river itself adds its own murmur, a constant undercurrent blending with the spectral sounds to create an atmosphere of quiet tension. Many report a feeling of being followed, though nothing visible moves behind them. Cold air brushes against their arms or necks, a physical sensation with no discernible source. Some describe a weight in the chest, fleeting but palpable, as if the park itself presses lightly upon the living. The presence is persistent yet gentle, a reminder that history lingers where life once flourished. The figures in old clothing are not confined to the riverbanks. They move along the meandering paths, around the playgrounds, and near historic structures, appearing as fleeting silhouettes. Their appearances are unpredictable, yet consistent in description across different accounts. Observers note the care in their movements, suggesting routines, habits, or rituals from lives long past. The historical resonance of Brackenridge Park amplifies the phenomena. Built as a space that has witnessed generations, the park holds the memory of those who lived, worked, and enjoyed its grounds over decades. Its bridges, stone walls, and pathways act as vessels for echoes of the past. Every whisper, every creaking step, and every fleeting shadow feels connected to this continuity of time. Visitors often feel drawn to follow these figures, compelled by curiosity and the pull of the unseen. The figures seem to guide, leading along paths by the river or through groves of trees, yet they remain just out of reach. When approached directly, they vanish, leaving only faint traces in the mind and sometimes a cold spot lingering in the air. The experience reinforces the sense that Brackenridge Park is alive with layered memories, accessible to those willing to witness them. Night at Brackenridge Park is immersive and deeply atmospheric. Shadows stretch across the grounds, whispers drift through the air. And figures in historical attire move quietly among the trees and along the river. The park becomes a space where time folds, connecting the living with those who have long since passed, creating an enduring dialogue between past and present. Despite the haunting phenomena, the park retains a serene and inviting quality. The activity of the spirits is subtle, never threatening. Visitors feel more awe than fear, a sense of witnessing history unfold quietly around them. The park at night is a reminder that spaces hold more than their physical forms. They carry the imprint of human presence, memory, and emotion. As the night deepens, the echoes become more pronounced. Whispers grow faintly louder. Footsteps continue to follow along empty paths. Figures in old clothing move gently along the river. Each element combines to form a tapestry of sensory experience. A dialogue between what was and what is, offering glimpses into lives that once intertwined with the park. Brackenridge Park is more than a park. It is a living memory, a space where shadows of the past linger softly. Where those who visit after dark may feel the presence of those who walked its grounds long ago. The whispers, footsteps, and figures are reminders that the park is a vessel of history, holding stories in every path, by every riverbend, and beneath every tree. Waiting for those who are willing to notice. The river continues to flow, the trees sway, and the figures move silently along the paths. Whispers echo faintly, footsteps mark no visible presence, and the park stands as a quiet intersection of past and present. Visitors leave with the awareness that Brackenridge Park holds more than its scenery, it carries the echoes of lives that continue to watch, walk, and whisper through the night. Bicentennial Park in Houston is a place where daytime visitors enjoy green spaces. The laughter of children and the chatter of passers-by fill the air. And the park offers a welcome respite from the urban landscape. Yet when night falls and the crowds disappear, a different energy settles over the park. Those who venture here after dark often describe experiences that are both subtle and unsettling. Some visitors notice swings moving on their own. The soft creak of chains can be heard, back and forth, even when no one is near. Chairs in the picnic area sometimes rock as if someone had just stood and left, though the spaces remain empty. The movements are gentle, yet deliberate, creating the sense that something unseen is present, observing, and interacting with the world of the living. Shadows appear along pathways, stretching unnaturally under street lamps. They move independently of the surrounding light and seem to vanish when approached. Sometimes they take shape briefly, resembling a figure walking past, only to dissolve into nothingness. The shadows do not feel threatening, but their presence is undeniable, lending an eerie and mysterious quality to the quiet park. Whispers are another common phenomenon reported at Bicentennial Park. Soft voices seem to drift across empty paths, carried by the night air. They do not form complete words or sentences, but their tones are distinct enough to suggest communication. Visitors often report that these whispers respond to their movements, fading when they approach and growing clearer when they pause or turn their attention to a particular area. The fountains and reflective pools add to the park's spectral ambience. At night, the water catches the moonlight in strange patterns. And some witnesses have seen fleeting reflections that do not match their own movements. Shapes and figures appear on the surface briefly. then vanish when one looks directly, leaving only ripples and the quiet sound of flowing water. Benches along the park paths hold their own mysteries. Some visitors feel sudden chills when sitting, as if a presence has passed nearby. Others report brief glimpses of movement just beyond their peripheral visione. Shadows crossing paths, figures standing silently, or a quick flash of light that cannot be traced to any known source. The experience is subtle, yet it leaves a lasting impression of something beyond the ordinary. The park trees along the pathways create long, dark corridors at night, casting shadows that twist and shift with the wind. Paths curve and intersect, creating a sense of disorientation, and sounds echo in unexpected ways. Footsteps, whispers, and the faint creak of swings can seem to come from multiple directions at once, making it difficult to pinpoint their origin. Even the open spaces of the park seem to hold energy. Those walking alone after dark often describe the sensation of being watched. It is not oppressive, but it is persistent, a quiet, tangible awareness that accompanies every step. The combination of shadows, whispers, and movement creates a layered experience, blending natural sounds with phenomena that defy explanation. Some visitors have reported seeing fleeting figures near the trees and along pathways. Silhouettes that appear human at first glance often vanish when approached, leaving only the impression that someone has passed moments before. Others describe the feeling of a presence standing nearby, close enough to be sensed, yet invisible. These experiences are often accompanied by a sense of calm curiosity rather than fear, as if the park is gently communicating its unseen stories. The night at Bicentennial Park is an interplay between the familiar and the unknown. The structures, benches, fountains, and pathways are real and tangible. Yet their interaction with invisible presences transforms the park into a place where the ordinary and the extraordinary coexist. Every sound, every movement, and every shadow takes on significance in the stillness of the night. Visitors who remain for longer periods often notice patterns. Whispers seem to follow footsteps. Swings begin to move just as one passes. And shadows gather near the edges of the paths. Always on the periphery. The phenomena are not violent or threatening. But they are persistent, creating a sense that the park itself remembers, and that memory lingers in the form of subtle, unexplained occurrences. Even the fountains seem alive after dark. The flow of water creates gentle sounds that mix with whispers and distant creaks. Reflections shimmer in unexpected ways, and some have claimed to see figures reflected in the pools that are not present in the immediate surroundings. The water becomes a mirror not only of light but of the lingering presence that inhabits the park after hours. The experiences at Bicentennial Park are individual, but shared themes emerge. Movement where there should be none, shadows that shift and vanish, whispers that defy identification. The park becomes a space where the imagination and perception intersect. Where visitors are invited to experience the subtle interplay between the seen and the unseen. Ultimately, Bicentennial Park at night is a reminder that even ordinary spaces can carry traces of mystery. Swings move without hands, chairs rock without bodies, and shadows stretch and vanish. And shadows stretch and vanish. Whispers echo along paths. And fountains reflect more than light. The park transforms into a quiet stage for phenomena that are subtle, gentle, and profoundly affecting, leaving visitors with a sense of wonder and a lasting awareness of the unseen world around them. Walking through Bicentennial Park after dark is an invitation to pay attention to notice the small movements. The soft sounds. And the fleeting shadows. A space where the ordinary and the extraordinary meet. And where the echoes of the unseen persist long after the last visitor has left. Town Lake Park in Austin stretches along the banks of the Colorado River. A green and serene space where city life meets the calm flow of water. By day, joggers trace the winding paths, families gather along the shoreline, and boats glide gently across the lake. The air is filled with birdsong, the rustle of leaves, and the distant hum of traffic, blending into a rhythm of urban nature. Yet when the sun sets and the city grows quieter, the park takes on an entirely different character. One that many visitors have found both enchanting and unsettling. After dusk, some who walk the trails near the water report seeing figures moving along the shoreline. These shapes appear human in form, dressed in faint, indistinct clothing. And they drift along the water's edge with an eerie calm. Observers often describe a sense of stillness and anticipation. The figures appearing and disappearing with a subtle fluidity, leaving only the impression of presence. The moments are fleeting, yet their impact lingers. As though the lake itself holds memory and energy that continues to interact with those who wander its paths. In addition to the figures, phantom boats have been seen drifting silently across the lake. They move without oars or motors, gliding smoothly over the water, leaving gentle ripples in their wake. Witnesses often find the experience mesmerizing, yet unsettling, as the boats follow no predictable course and vanish when approached. The combination of still water, reflective moonlight, and subtle movement creates an atmosphere that feels timeless, as if the lake is both a stage and a participant in a scene that has been replayed countless times. One visitor recalled a walk along the eastern shore just after twilight. The sky was painted in deep purples and blues, and the water mirrored the fading light. A figure appeared near the shoreline, standing motionless for several moments. As the observer watched, a small boat drifted across the lake, silent and empty, yet leaving delicate ripples that spread toward the shore. A faint sound of music, almost imperceptible, seemed to rise from the water, mingling with the distant whisper of laughter. When the visitor moved closer, both the figure and the boat vanished, leaving only the quiet lapping of the water against the shore. The natural features of Town Lake Park enhance these experiences. Trees along the bank create shadows and pockets of darkness where figures can appear and disappear. The gentle movement of the river amplifies the sense of motion and presence, reflecting light and sound in unexpected ways. Moonlight and artificial lights from the city cast shifting reflections on the water, making ordinary ripples appear animated. Even subtle sounds, like wind rustling leaves or water moving against the shore, can contribute to the perception of unseen activity, heightening awareness and creating a sense of immersion. Local lore suggests that the figures and phantom boats are echoes of those who once frequented the lake. Some believe they are spirits of past visitors, lingering to continue their evenings along the water. Others say that the lake retains the energy of activity, preserving moments of music, laughter, and movement that replay for those who are sensitive enough to perceive them. Accounts from visitors consistently describe similar phenomena, including figures along the shore, boats gliding silently, and faint, disembodied sounds indicating a persistent presence that spans time. Experiencing Town Lake Park at night is both haunting and captivating. The figures, boats, and subtle sounds engage the senses fully, creating a heightened awareness of the environment. Observers notice the interplay of shadow and reflection, the gentle undulations of the water, and the ambient sounds of wind and distant city life. Each ripple, each movement, each faint note of music contributes to the sensation that the lake is alive with memory and unseen presences. Even when no figures are visible and no boats are present, the park retains a charged atmosphere. Visitors often report a lingering sense of observation, a quiet feeling that they are not entirely alone, even on the most secluded trails. The space becomes more than a recreational park, it transforms into a place where history, energy, and memory converge. Town Lake Park offers a connection to the past and to forces unseen, a reminder that some presences persist long after the day has ended. As night deepens over Austin, the waters of Town Lake reflect moonlight and distant city lights. Figures may drift along the shoreline, phantom boats may glide across the lake. And soft laughter or faint music may echo across the water. The park endures as a space where visitors encounter echoes of those who came before. where the environment itself seems aware. And where the ordinary beauty of the lake is imbued with mystery, memory, and quiet, watchful presence. Town Lake Park is not only a sanctuary of nature within the city, but also a place where the past and present coexist. And so, our journey through Texas' South haunted park areas comes. Though perhaps some shadows followed you along the trails, and some whispers lingered in your ears. 20 parks where history, mystery, and restless spirits converge. Reminding us that even places of joy may hide darker stories. If you ever wander through these parks at night, remember, the swings may move on their own. Shadows may follow your path. And the past may be closer than you think. Thank you for exploring with me tonight. May your footsteps be safe, your nights quiet, and your eyes see only the living. Before you go, tell me in the comments. Which haunted park gave you the chills, and would you dare spend a night there alone? Sleep carefully, dear listener, and keep watch over the shadows.